We're about to begin the service for Dr. Martin Hutensky. I would ask any of you who have a cell phone to please turn it to the off position. I want to welcome those of you who are on live stream from other communities. Officiating our service today will be Rabbi James Gordon.
I know that Marty would excuse me for wearing a baseball cap for his service because, one, we can identify it's hard to keep a kippah on when you're losing your hair. And if I had to wear a hat, it would at least be either a University of Michigan or a Yankee fan. I'm not a Yankee fan, but I am an alum of University of Michigan, as was our dear friend and Marty. Going to begin by sharing a few Psalms that are very appropriate both in the Hebrew and in the English. We'll readily see how appropriate and fitting they are for such a beautiful person as was our friend, family member, Dr. Martin Hutensky, Marty Hutensky. Begin with Psalm 1, Tehillim Aleph. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach bi'atzat reshaim uvderech hata'im lo amad uvemoshav leitzim lo yashav ki im betorat Adonai chavtso uvtorato yegeh yomam v'layla. V'haya ke'et shatul al palgei mayim asher piryo yitain be'ito v'alehu lo yibol v'chol asher ya'aseh yatzliach. Lochein harishaim ki im kamotz asher tidefenu ruach al kein lo yakumu rishaim b'mishpat v'chataim ba'adat tzadikim ki odei Adonai derech tzadikim v'derech rishaim toved. Happy is the man who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the scornful. Rather, that one's delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meditating in God's Torah day and night. And he will be like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose leaves will not wither, and whatever that one does prospers. Not so the wicked, who are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not survive judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord loves the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked is doomed. Tehillim Tedvav, Psalm 15. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai mi yagur b'ohalecha, mi yishkon behar kodshecha. Holech tamim ufoel tzedek v'dover emet bilvavo. Lo ragal al lishono, lo asa l're'ehu ra'a v'cherpa lo nasa al krovo. Nivza be'enav nimas v'yet yirei Adonai yichabed. Nishpa leharav lo yamir. Kaspo lo natan b'neshach. V'shochad al naki lo lakach. Osei ela lo yimot leolam. Psalm 15. Mizmor leDavid, a song of David. Lord, who may sojourn in your tent? Who may dwell on your holy mountain? One who walks in purity, does what is righteous, and speaks the truth from the heart, who has no slander on the tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, nor cast disgrace toward a neighbor, in whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully even to personal hurt and never retracts, who does not lend money on interest nor takes a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things shall never falter. I'm now going to read in the Hebrew Tehillim Chav Gimel, Psalm 23, and ask all those who would like to join in the English translation, which you'll find in the inside of the pamphlets. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bin odesha yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'kei tzalmavet lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yinachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai, di shanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shafti beveit Adonai li'orach yamim. Please join with me, the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now going to call upon Alyssa, who would like to share some words, some memories with us.
My dad was a humble, gentle, kind, loving man. My dad was the easiest man to talk to in any room. Dad was always happy to see you, and he always made your time with him about you. Dad loved to tell jokes, but seemed to have an aversion to remembering punchlines, which somehow made his jokes better. My dad would want me to remind everybody here that he was proudly from Waterbury, Connecticut, and that he did 1 year at Leavenworth High School. My dad loved every meal, every cookie. My dad was the first one to offer you ice cream or push a Snickers on you just so he could have a treat too. Dad's last few years weren't easy, but he never complained. With Mom's tireless support, he rallied each and every time. And I take a little comfort in knowing that for all he struggled through, his death was peaceful. On his 65th birthday, we had a surprise party and we wrote a poem, because of course we wrote a poem. And I thought it sort of fit perfectly for today. It's called That's Our Marty. Marty grew up in Waterbury, CT. A happy-go-lucky young man was he. He made many friends, like his first one named Artie. Because, as you know, that's our Marty. Michigan Wolverines are the next stop on our tour. Dental school, however, would prove the wrong choice for sure. But he proved Big Ten worthy and came out a smarty because, as you know, that's our Marty. Onto the school known as ICO, his knowledge of eyeballs did surely grow. Dating Helene went straight to his hearty. Let's hear it again. That's our Marty. Married life brought a house and much joy. First came a girl and then a bouncing baby boy. Coming home from work, he made sure to never be tardy because, as you've learned, the coming years would bring all kinds of news, full of many celebrations and sometimes the blues. But a smile he wore as he did from the starty, ever optimistic. That's our Marty.
This past week, we read the portion of the Torah known as Vayigash, as we're approaching now the end of the first book of the Torah, Sefer Breshit. Last week, we read about where Yosef, after being away from his family, and after then having an encounter with his brothers where he knew who they were, but they did not know who he was, we see that Yosef finally reveals his identity to his brothers. And the brothers then, after speaking to Yosef tells his brothers that he wants to invite them all, starting with their father, to live out and live through the famine that engulfed not just Egypt, but a good part of the world, including Canaan, Israel, to come and live in Egypt, really to be sort of like VIPs. And so Joseph sends his brothers with a bounty of goods, and also among it was wagons that he specifically designated and asked that his father be brought and that the family be moved. And when the brothers approached their father back in Israel and told them that Joseph was still alive, Jacob, the father, Yaakov, did not believe them. And this is how they finally convinced their father that Joseph really was alive. And the Torah tells us, Vayidabru elav et kol divrei Yosef asher diber alehem. And they spoke to Yaakov, to Jacob their father, and they shared all the words of Joseph that he had spoken to them. And then, Vayar et ha'agalot asher shalach Yosef. They saw the agalot, which means wagons. They saw the wagons that Joseph himself sent to bring to carry their father. Vatechi ruach Yaakov avihem. And when Yaakov saw these wagons, all of a sudden his spirit was once again revived. He was rejuvenated. And so the question is, what was so special about these wagons that he sent to pick up his father? How did he know at that point that Joseph was really alive? The commentator Rashi explains something interesting. He says, Siman Masar Lahem, that Joseph sent a sign, a secret message to his father that only his father would know. Bamehaya osei keshepiresh mimenu beparashat egla arufa. Because Joseph shared a special relationship with his father, with Yaakov, because he made the decision to learn with him what I call pre-Sinai Torah with his father. And this was the unique relationship that Joseph had with his father Yaakov. And the last portion that they studied together dealt with what's referred to an egla arufa. Egla, like the word agala, sharing the same root, but it has a different meaning. And that means the broken-necked calf, which is a very complex and peculiar law. But I say that really the bottom line, and perhaps the most important message of this egla arufa, is that a community assumes responsibility in general, in that case particularly for an unsolved murder. And it is the job of the members of the community to step up for it. The word agala, which is the wagon, shares the same letters, the same root as the word for calf of Egel. And Yaakov and Joseph were able to connect in that way. In Yiddish slang, some of us may know the word agala. Agala in Hebrew, agala, can mean really refer to not just a wagon, but any type of vehicle. And a driver is referred to at times as a Baal Agala. When I came on board to serve in Lincolnwood Jewish congregations, one of my first assignments was to work with my friend and mentor, Rabbi Joel Learfield, in strengthening the daily minyan at Lincolnwood Jewish congregation. A primary responsibility that a synagogue, that a shul has to its community is to provide a regular daily minyan. Rabbi Learfield informed me that one man we could count on to ensure that the shul continued to have a daily minyan was Dr. Marty Hutensky. There was one catch, however. Because of health reasons, Marty could no longer drive, and he would need to be picked up. Prior to my arrival to Lincolnwood Jewish congregation, Rabbi Learfield had that honor of picking up Marty, and then after breakfast, a member of the minyan would happily drive him back home. Once I moved into the community, I then volunteered to replace Rabbi Learfield as the Baal Agala, who had the honor of driving Marty to the Shachrit minyan. My name in Hebrew is Yaakov. Marty is Mordechai ben Yosef. So I kind of look at it this way. Just like Yaakov, Jacob of the Torah, bonded with Joseph over in Agala, a vehicle. This Yaakov, meaning myself, I bonded with Marty, who is Mordechai ben Yosef, through a modern day Agala. In my case, that was my Toyota Camry. Just like Yaakov Avinu's spirit was revived when he saw Yosef, I too felt rejuvenated every morning when Marty would ride shotgun in my agala, in my car. During these daily rides, Marty and I developed a great mutual respect and friendship for each other. During our 5 to 7 minute trips, we discussed many topics, including our families, sports, Judaism, Israel, a good joke. If I told it, I do remember the punchlines. World politics, and of course, shul politics. I found Marty to be just as Alyssa described: kind, caring, bright, humble, a family and community first man, a proud Jew, and as I learned over time, a talented optometrist. As Helene succinctly stated yesterday when I met, Marty was a good guy. And that's a very good way of summarizing somebody so wonderful. Yesterday, my own assessments of Marty were validated and expanded upon when I met with Helene, Michael, and Alyssa. And you've heard a lot about him really in the poem and in the succinct message that Alyssa shared with us. Marty was born into a close-knit family, the son of Joseph Yosef, who emigrated from Russia as a child, and Sylvia Shana. He was a Connecticut native, as you heard. Marty was raised in Waterbury. He was proud of his upbringing and his home state. And I was Googling, by the way, what do you call a native person from Connecticut? One of the names is a nutmegger, because it's the nutmeg state. Okay. A devoted son and brother, after his father passed away, Marty ensured his mother's well-being by moving her to Chicago, where she could live nearby. Marty was a loving brother of Judy Baal, of blessed memory, who passed away more than 20 years ago. A dedicated and loving husband, Marty and Helene were married for 51 years. They met on a blind date and got married after 8 months. They loved and cared so much for one another, their children, grandchildren, and family. As we all know, nobody meant more to Marty than Helene, their children, grandchildren, and extended family. As soon as Marty married Helene, her family became his. Marty developed a close relationship with Helene's parents, Max and Lillian Rosenfeld, who are buried right here, along with Helene's siblings, Ron of blessed memory, his wife Roberta, Rosalie, and Bev and David Sugar. Both raised in traditional Jewish homes, Marty and Helene, in turn, raised their children in a Beit Ne'eman B'Yisrael, a home steeped in Jewish tradition, education, and values. Lincolnwood Jewish congregation was a central part of their lives, as it was in Helene's life growing up. It was the Rosenfeld family shul. Lincolnwood Jewish congregation was where they davened together, where the kids went to Hebrew school, where the family made and developed lifelong friendships. Yom Tovim holidays were spent with family. Not only was the greater Hutensky, Rosenfeld, Rosenberg, Roth, and Sugar families, did I get everybody? Okay. Of multiple generations, a perennial presence on the Yomim Noraim, the high holy days at Lincolnwood, but the family gathered for the Chagim, the holidays, throughout the year. Marty, as we know, was the cherished father of Alyssa and Ryan and Michael and Emily, and the loving Saba of Ronald, Lizzie, and Jana. Nothing brought Marty more joy than his grandchildren, who were fortunate to get to know and spend a lot of time with their Saba. Unfortunately, this time did not extend longer. And I saw Jana and Lizzie a little bit before, and I'll extend again to them and to Ronald, that you have to know and realize how much your Saba loved all of you and how proud he was of you. And even though your Saba might not be here right here, he's always going to be a part of your lives as long as you remember him. Keep him in your memory and think about all those great times, those wonderful times that you had together. Marty also was a loving cousin, uncle, and great uncle to many. Marty, as we heard a little bit too before, he made many friends and worked at maintaining and building friendships. He had close friends from as early as kindergarten and added to his circle of friends as he moved forward in life. In addition to his childhood friends, his circle included friends from college and graduate school, from the JCC, where he worked out for many years, and of course the Lincolnwood Jewish Congregation Morning Minyan. It's not surprising that Marty had so many devoted friends, since Marty was such a kind, happy, positive man who radiated love. Proud of his family and friends, he happily took nostalgic trips, family trips, to visit his friends who lived in places like Connecticut and Syracuse. Having finished third in his high school class, was that Lovingsworth? Okay, I didn't. Okay, well, okay, it was high school. Okay.
By then it was Crosby.
Okay, okay. Marty was accepted to and attended the University of Michigan, where he excelled in his studies. He then attended the Illinois College of Optometry. Marty, known professionally as Dr. Martin Hutensky, was a highly respected optometrist. Okay. An extremely hard worker, Marty oftentimes worked 6 days a week in order to provide generously for his family. On a personal note, I got to experience some of Dr. Hutensky's meticulous professional care following a procedure to my eye, where I needed eye drops then put in for a while. And before I think my wife felt comfortable, I was ushered into the Hutensky kitchen, where Marty put on his gloves and meticulously really took care of my eyes. As we know, Marty overcame many serious health challenges. He survived 4 brain surgeries, the first occurring in 1967. In addition to receiving top medical care, Marty had a tremendous support system led by Helene, Michael, and Alyssa and their families. He also had such a positive attitude. Marty never gave up. Rather than being a complainer, he was always out to please others and expressed gratitude for everything, starting with being blessed to have such a close-knit, supportive, loving family. Having a grandmother who lived until the ripe age of 102, Marty always felt young, like there was always more life to live. Marty did not need fancy trips or cars. He enjoyed simple pleasures in life, as Alyssa spoke about, like his Snicker bars and ice cream. The sage Ben Zoma in Pirkei Avot asks a series of rhetorical questions and then gives his answer. Here is one of them. Ben Zoma Omer, Ezehu Ashir, who is considered to be a wealthy man? And he responds, Hasameach bechalko, somebody who is happy in his lot in life, somebody who accepts what he has and is happy and content with what he has. Marty was truly an Ashir and a Sameach. He truly was a wealthy man, having his family, friends, and his health. Going to share the refrain, the Pizmon, the refrain from a poem written by Chaim Nachman Bialik, a pre-modern state of Israel Zionist who emigrated from Europe to Israel. And if you Google Mayim Bialik, you'll see that she claims to be, I think, descended a great niece or great-great-niece of Chaim Nachman Bialik. And he writes, and the poem is called Acharei Moti, after my death, after I have passed away. Acharei Moti siptu kacha li. After I have passed away, I want you to eulogize me in the following manner. Haya ish, there once was a man, uru, and behold and see. Einenu od, he no longer is here. Kodem zmano me ta'ish hazeh, before his time this man passed away. Vishirat chayav bi'emsa nifsaka, and the song of his life was broken, was interrupted in its midst. Vitsar, like the word oi, tsuras, and oi, woe. Od mizmor echad hayal lo. He still had one more song inside of him. V'inei avad hamizmor la'ad, avad la'ad. And behold, this song is lost forever. At this time, it is our role, our tasks as Marty's survivors, his family, his friends, to ensure his memory, that it lives on, and his legacy. And we do so by continuing to sing his song of life. One way that we do this is by incorporating into our own lives the many fine midot, virtues, by which Marty led his life. Tehei nishmat Mordechai ben Yosef, tzura b'tzror hachayim. May the soul, the neshama of Dr. Martin Hutensky, Marty Hutensky, be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. And I just want to apologize because I didn't check something before, but I do see, I believe in the audience, Rabbi Yehuda Myers, who is the rabbi of Lincolnwood Jewish Congregation, and I would like to invite him up here to recite the Kel Maleh prayer, and I know that means a lot to the family.
El Mole Rachamim Shochein Bamiromim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Al Kanfei HaShchina B'ma'alos Kedoshim Etarim Kezarkia Masirim Es Nishmas Mordechai ben Yosef Shalach L'olamo Ba'avor shanachon mispalim Ba'ad haskaras nishmaso Beganin himin chaso Lachein ba'al rachamim Yasir b'sesek nafav l'olamim V'yitzror chaim es nishmaso Adonai hu nachalaso V'yanuchu B'shalom mishkava v'namar amen.
O God, full of compassion, you who dwell on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence, in the lofty levels of the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the neshama, the soul of Mordechai ben Yosef, who has gone to his world, and for whose memory we pray. May his repose be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring him under the cover of God's wings and bind his neshama, his soul, in the bond of life. May the Lord be his heritage, and may he repose on his resting place in peace. And let us say, Amen. We're now going to ask that the casket be lowered, and in a few moments, for those who are comfortable to do so, both physically and emotionally, we're going to give the opportunity to continue to participate in, I would say, what is an overall message of what we call Kvod Hamet, honoring the deceased, and a type of mitzvah that we refer to at times as Chesed Shel Emet, that not only is it kindness, it's kindness upon truth, it's something for which the beneficiary is not able to directly pay us back, so to speak, or thank us for our deed, our kind deed of helping to fill in the kever, to fill in the grave. And so it is customary, we have the mound of earth here, not to pass the shovel from one person to the next, but rather after you're done putting in the earth for which you're comfortable, to put the shovel back into the mound. Here. Yeah, I'll put it on right now. Yeah. And I'm just going to place some more earth in from Hara Zaytim, from Yerushalayim.
the family to please come first and ask everybody to please be careful around the grave.
Do you want to go, Lucy, with your mom?
Emily Joel Probisky.
take one step over. I'm going to talk to the camera for 1 second. Friends, for those of you who are online, I want to let you know that Shiva will take place at the Rosenberg residence following the interment today, and also traditional Shiva the rest of the week. That information is located on the website that you're on. When the service concludes, we will turn off the live stream. Thank you.